Tov. Sorry, let me say it again. Big Mazel Tov. There. And today's learning should be supposed for Shalema. Sorry, Mayor Dov HaKohen Ben Yenta. She should continue to have her for Shalema. What is? I never know where I'm. It's today Pei Vav. Today is Pei Vav. We are 4 lines from the top. Amar Rav Kahana. I have some good news and some bad news. The bad news is that the Agadata is ending today, and we're going to go back to our regular program. The good news is that the Agadata picks up again like 6 lines later. So we're going to have a lot of Agadata with a little bit of like back to the Mishnah. Okay. Amar Rav Kahana. So one of the themes of this Agadata was really learning about some of the personalities and the greatness of the various Tanaim, Amarayim, and that's going to continue. We're going to open with learning a little bit about Rabbah, right? So Amar Rav Kahana said, yeah, that'd be great. Thank you. Amar Rav Kahana, as in Mayor Kahana, but not quite that one. He was good. He kicked. All right. He was good. Black creamer, a little bit of creamer, a little bit of Splendor, whatever. Thank you. Yeah, I didn't like so Amar Rav Kahana, Ishtaili Rav Chama bar Barte dechasa. Rav Kahana said that Rav Chama bar Barta dechasa, so Rav Chama, who was the grandson of this person whose name was Chasa, told him that Rabba bar Nachmani, Agav Sham da Nachnafshe, was killed through Shemad. So who was Rabba bar Nachmani? Rashi tells us this was the Rabba that argues with Rav Yosef throughout Shas. He was the Rebbe of Abaya the Rava. He was also, he raised Abaya, right? It's very complicated. You know, I'm a pretty simple person. But so he died via a Shemad. Achalu bakurza be milka. There was slander in the kingdom, and that led to his death. Amru, they said, Ikachad Gavra b'Yehudai, Dekamavatol Tracer Alfe Gavri mi Yisrael, Yarcha Bakata, Kaita, Yarcha Besitva, Mikarga Demalka, meaning he would give these big shiurim, these Yarche Kalas, Pesach time, Sukkot time, so people would go to hear his, these weeks-long, shiurim, and then they were not home. So when the tax collectors would come to collect the tax, so many people, 12,000 people in the town, weren't there to pay the tax. And this was causing some, budget shortfalls. So they were pretty upset about it. So Shud drew Pristika de Milka Basre. So they sent a whole, group to go find him. And they couldn't find him. Now, he lived in Pumpadisa. So the Gemara says, Arak va'azal mi Pumpadisa la'akra. He went from Pumpadisa la'akra, me'akra la'agma, me'agma l'shchin, mishchin l'tripa. These are all just names of towns. Me'tripa li'ina demaim, me'ina demaim l'Pumpadisa. He made his way back to Pumpadisa. Again, always one step ahead of the folks chasing him. And the Pumpadisa, but they did ultimately find him in Pumpadisa. Ikla pristika de malkala ushpiza de Rabba. This procession that is coming to find him, they ended up staying in some rundown inn where he was probably hiding. And krivu taka kamei v'ashkua trei kasi. So the innkeeper put a table in front of this presumably important person who's supposed to be finding Rabbah. On this table, there were 2 cups of wine. He drank the wine, and they removed the table like udlua l'tag mekamei. But Hadar pritsupa lacharei. His face literally turned backwards. Not like he turned his head back. He literally had some physical ailment where now his head turned. Why did this happen? So Rashi tells us this goes back, if you recall, in Psachim, the whole sugya, it was a few blots that talked about shtadim and demons and those types of things. It was the sugya of zugim. So sometimes in those days, if you did things in pairs, specifically drinking wine in pairs, it could create all sorts of issues. And that's what this guy did. He drank wine in pairs. He had 2 cups of wine. Why is this in Psachim? Because the Gemara asks, how do we drink 4 cups of wine at the Seder? Isn't this a problem with Zugim? That's what kicked off that whole sugya. But the point is, this guy drank 2 cups of wine, and therefore he had all these issues. So Amrulay, my Navale, Gavr Damaku, the innkeeper's like, we got to help this guy out. He's a chashuv guy, right? And we're going to get in trouble if he comes back and his face is backwards. So Amrluhu, so Rabba wanted to help out. And he said, Privu taka l'kameh, basically put the table in front of him. Vashko chad kasa, just give him 1 more cup because 2 + 1 is 3, which is not an even number. That's an odd number. But don't give him 4. That won't solve the problem. Give him 3. Ujulu l'taka mekameh, and then remove the table. Vilitzi, and he'll get better. Avdulei hachive itzi. They did this, and they did in fact get better. But he realized that it must be a Talmud Chacham that was able to figure it out. So So Amar made the
Good morning.
Yadana.
Good morning.
Hello?
We're
Sorry?
sorry. Yes, hi.
Hey,
We're holding Shalom
we
Aleichem.
are holding, I don't know, 15, 20 lines down. Middle of the last word on the line is Amar. On Pevav of
Wait,
an
wait.
Aleph, sorry.
Yeah.
Last word on the line is Amar.
Okay. Got it.
So Amar
Thank you.
Meda Yadana de Gabra de Kabiina Hacha. So this officer was like, I know the guy I'm looking for is right here. So Hachahu. So Bachish Abasra Ashkefe. So he finds Rabba. But he was very thankful to what Rabba did for him. So Amar Azalna Meha, and he said, listen, your secret safe with me. All right, don't worry about it. I'm not going to give you up. Imikdal Katlulu who gavra lo maglina. And by the way, I will take the secret to my death. They can offer to kill me. I will not give you up. But I'm just being honest. The inagidi minagidanle migilna. If they torture me, there's nothing I can do. You know what I mean? So if they're going to kill me quickly, that's fine. But if they're going to torture me, like I'm just being honest with you, I'm probably going to give you up. And that's of course what happened. Asiyu lakame and Aile la droni betirke la baba ba'anpe. They locked him up in a cell, and it was impossible for him to get out. So now Rava is in a jail cell. So what does he do? He davens, and Parakashista, and the wall falls down. So Arak, so he escapes. Ba'azala Agma, and now he's free, and he goes to an Agam, he goes to a marsh somewhere. So what does he do? Have a Yasiv Agirda Dikla. He sits on a tree stump and the Kagaris, and he sits and learning. Like, what else would he do, right? So Kamiflagi, the Mesifta Durakia, at the time there happened to be a big machlokas going on in the Yeshiva Shalmaila, and the Mesifta Durakia. And it was very technical machlokas. In Baheres Kodemis Laseir Lavan, so in the sugyas of Saras, if a Baheres appears before the Seir Lavan, the white here, Tame, so that's posture that a person would be Tame. Im Seir Lavan Kodem Lebaheres, Tar. If the Seir Lavan comes before the Baheres, then the person's Tar. But what about a suffix? What happens if you're not sure? So HaKadosh Baruch Hu Omer, on the one side you had HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and he says Tahar, but Vakula Mesifta Diarkia are Mutame, but everyone else in the Mesifta Diarkia is arguing with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and they're saying he would be Tame. So Va'amri, Ma Nochach, like who's going to be Machriya the suffix? You have HaKadosh Baruch Hu on the one side, but you have everyone else on the other side. So what do we do about this? So Nochach Rabba Bar Nachmeni. So they said in the Yeshiva Shalmaila, they said, why don't we go call Rabba Bar Nachmeni? To Amar Rabba Bar Nachmeni, Ani Yachid ben Gaim, Ani Yachid ba'ahalos. He's like, he used to say that he was a baki in these inyanim, ben Gaim, but all these are very difficult sugyas. So he can be machriya or something. So Shadru Shlicha Basreis, they sent a shliach from Shemayim to go get Rabba Bar Nachmeni. The problem is, who is the shliach that's getting Rabba Bar Nachmeni? It's the Malach HaMaves, right? So it's not necessarily a great thing. So lo hava mati Malach HaMaves l'makriv lei middle hava kapasik kume megirse. The problem is the Malach HaMaves, who's on his way to get Rabba Bar Nachmeni, he can't because Rabba Bar Nachmeni is not going to stop learning, and the Malach HaMaves can't take you if you're in the process of learning. Exactly. So adahachi nasha zika ba'avish beni kane. So a wind came and made some sort of noise. Savar, now Rabba must have appreciated that the Malach HaMaves is at his doorstep. So Savar Gunda Deprishahu, he thought, Rabba, that maybe this is the procession, they're coming to capture him again. So Amar Tenach Nashe Du Gavra Lo Yimsar Bidei de Malchusa. Better that I stop learning, let the Malach HaMaves take me, then I don't get captured again and I get killed, by the Malchus. So that's how he ultimately died. The point is, he would have kept learning and the Malach HaMaves never would have taken him. He only died because he realized, or he thought, that the Malchus was coming to get him. And that's where the Sugya picked up, that he died because of a shmad of the Malchus. So Kiavanicha Nashe, when he was dying, Amar, what were his last words on earth? Tahar, he was Machriya the Safek, not, or like HaKadosh Baruch Hu, meaning everyone else said Tameh. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu said Tahar, and that's how he was Machriya the Safek, like HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that in this Shaila, it's Tahar. Yatzis Pascal Ba'amra, Ashrecha Rabba Bar Nachmeni. Shegufcha Tahar, Yatzisa Nishmascha Tahar. You were 100% Tahar. Nafal Piska Mirakia. So again, no one knows that he died, right? He's in some Agam somewhere. Everyone else is in Pumbedisa, right? So Nafal Piska Mirakia Pumbedisa. A letter fell down from the sky in Pumbedisa, and it said, Rabba Bar Nachmeni Nispakesh Yeshiva Shamayla. Rabba Bar Nachmeni was requested in the Yeshiva Shamayla, which Abai and Rabba understood to mean that he had died. So Nafku Abai Rabba, the Kula Rabbanan, Lasukebe, they needed to know where he was, but Lo Havi Yadei. They didn't know where his body was. So Azu la'agma, they went to this agam, and Chazu tzafre de metalale the kaime. So they saw a whole bunch of birds somewhere, and they figured Amri Shlamina Hasamu. That's got to be where he is. They went over there. They saw him. Safduhu plus a yomi plus the lelusa. They were masbidden for 3 days and 3 nights, and then they were ready to go home. Nafal piska, another piska fell from the Shemayim, and it said Kala Poresh Yehebi Nido. Like, you guys are not done. You leave right now. You're going to be a Nido. So Safduhu Shiva yomi. So they were masbidden 7 days. Nafal piska lechu leveislam l'shalom. Okay. Ahu yoma denach nafshe, on the day that Rabbah died, Dalye zafa v'dari lahutaya kirachav gamla mehai gisa denahar papa v'shadya bahachisa. There was a person, was a merchant. He was on a camel. A massive wind came and literally blew him from one side of the sea to the other side of the sea. Probably not a sea, probably a river. But either way, massive wind. Amr, my high, what is this huge wind? What's going on over here? So Amri Lay, they said to him, Nach Nafshe, Rav Bar Nachmani. That must be what's going on. Rav Bar Nachmani died, so supernatural things are happening today. Amar Lafana Ribono Shalom. So he davened to Hashem. He said, Kuli Alma Didach, the whole world is yours. Rav Bar Nachmani Didach. At Derabba, Verabba Didach, Amaikam Mecharebes Leila Alma. Like, what are you doing this for? Like, now you have, again, a little unclear to me exactly what the tefillah was, but it was something along the lines of like, again, why are you doing this? And Nach, Za'afa, and then everything went back to normal. Okay, that's the end of this story. The last point before we wrap up the Agadata, we're going to go back to the very heavy rabbis. And we have one more story of a very heavy rabbi.
Yeah, you missed that, didn't you?
So Reb Shimon ben Chalafta, Baal Basar. Reb Shimon ben Chalafta was a Baal Basar. Exactly.
So we might have more.
These are the only stuff I remember from the
And on that note, have a Yoma Chad, have a Chamimale, so it was very warm for him. He was a big guy. And have a Salik Yasif, a Shainer de Turi, he's sitting up in the mountain somewhere. And Amarle Labarte, he says to his daughter, Biti, Hanifi Li, the Minifa, fan me, help me out a little bit. Bani attain lech kikrin dinerd, and I will give you these flowers that apparently they used to make perfume. So something that she would have wanted. But Adahachi Nishbazika, a massive wind came, and Amar, so I guess he didn't need her to fan anymore, and he said, Kama kikrin dinerd, the Maridechi. I was willing to give this perfume to my daughter. What am I supposed to give Hashem? Like, how much perfume can I give Hashem already? What does he need? And on that note, we go back to our Mishnah, but again, momentarily. We're going to go back to some of probably the most famous Agadata. Well, maybe not to Meir. Meir's got certain things in his mind. But no, this is Avram Avinu with the Malachim in the beginning of Parshas Vayera. Choni Magel is another good one. Is that in Baba Metzia? Again, these are things I should probably know. That's got to be in Zintinus. That's Zintinus. Yeah. Okay, so what did our Mishnah say? What was the first Mishnah of the parak, right? The theme of the Mishnah was when you hire these day laborers, these kolalim, you can stipulate whatever you want. But a kol kaminagamedin, meaning in the lack of you making some sort of stipulation, there's a kol kaminagamedina. That's basically what the Mishnah said. So the Gemara says a kol kaminagamedina lahakol la'asuye mais. Often the Gemara will ask something like that. La'asuye is coming to include ba'asra dinihigi. This is, I think, the name of a place. That Makrif Rifta Umashta Anpaka. So this was a place you can imagine where the Mincha Medina was, that when people come, you hire people to do, construction work, whatever it is, you first bring them somewhere, right, to the job site or whatever it is, but somewhere like in an office, and there's coffee and there's donuts, and first everyone takes 20 minutes to like have a coffee and have a donut, and then you go out to do your work. That was the Mincha Medina. But the Amar Lahu, Kadimu Va'aisu Lahu, go straight to the job site, right? And I'll just bring you the coffee and the donuts there. Like, I don't want to waste the time, right? Amru lo kol kaminach. They can basically say absolutely not. That's not our arrangement. Our arrangement is we come to work, we have a coffee, we have a donut, and then we go. And if you look at the bottom Tosfos on this page, Lazos on the Yamid, what he's basically saying is this is a situation where the food wasn't ready. So imagine everyone's supposed to come at 9 o'clock, meet in the office, have coffee and donuts, and then at 9:30 you go out to the job site. So at 9 o'clock, the coffee and the donuts aren't there, and they're not going to be there for 20 minutes. So the guy says, listen, why do we all wait sitting around for 20 minutes and then we're going to eat for 30 minutes and then we're going to get to the job site at 9:50, 10 o'clock. Let's go to the job site. Let's start working. When the coffee and the donuts come, we'll take a half-hour break. So no one's going to be cheated out of their coffee break. They still have a right to say absolutely not.
This is the part why I've been so long.
Yes, it's one of them. So that's not Tosfos, but that's somewhere. All right. So again, the theme of the Mishnah was Hakol Keminag Medina, but then there was a story. And what was the story? That's very good. Rabbi Yochanan ben Masya said to his son, hire me some workers. And his son goes over to the workers and he says, we'll provide lunch. And then the father said, oh my goodness, you said you were going to provide lunch. Nothing will be good enough for them. Nothing. And then Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel at the end says, that was all unnecessary because Hakol Keminag Medina, right? So the Gemara is going to ask, we just said Hakol Keminag Medina, then we have a story that seems to like contradict Hakol Keminag Medina, which again was even the response at the end of the Mishnah. So as the Gemara says very often, right? Let's see in the inside. Meister of Yochanan ben Masya Shamar Levno say is Karv Chule. Meister is store. Why is there a story that is contradicting the halacha that was just taught in the Mishnah? The halacha was Hakol Keminag Medina, and then we have a story that seems to contradict Hakol Keminag Medina. So the Gemara answers, this is how you should really read the Mishnah. Pasak lahen mizonos riva lahen, meaning Hakol Keminag Medina. That's definitely true. Hakol Keminag Medina. But if you promise, if you go above and beyond what the Minhag Medina was, and you offer lunch, now already all bets are off. So you didn't have to offer lunch, but once you offer lunch, then it could be then you got to at least put in some guardrails because lunch can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. The Gemara just repeats the entire story. And the son promised lunch. And then when the son went to his father, and he presumably wanted his father to be like, that was very good of you. He said, Amar lo b'ni, Shlomo b'shaito. Even if you were to make for them a suda as great as Shlomo, in b'shaito, lo yatzas yidei chovas chayiman, shehem b'nei Avram, Yitzchak, v'Yakov, because they are the sons of b'nei Avram, Yitzchak, v'Yakov, and they expect even greater than that. But now the Gemara just asks a very kind of a technical question, right? Lememra de suudasa de Avram Avinu adipim de Shlomo. So from the line of the Mishnah, it sounds like even if you prepared for them a suda like Shlomo Melech, it wouldn't even be good enough because they're the sons of Avram Avinu. So you're telling me the meals of Avram Avinu were greater than the meals of Shlomo Melech? And by the way, as we're going to see in the Gemara, we're dealing with a very specific meal of Avram Avinu. It's the meal when the three Malachim came to visit him. So was that meal, the bakar and all that, was that greater than the suda of Shlomo Melech? Good. That's a good point. But the point is the chsiv, and these are psukim from the beginning of Malachim Aleph. Vahi lechem Shlomo liomecha. We're talking about his meals. So his bread was shloshim kursoles, v'shishim kemach, and asara bakar berim, 10 bakar, the asara bakar rei, and 10 other types of bakar, umeat stone, and 100 types of sheep, levad me'ayel. It's almost like it sounds like when suffering. Like levad is me'ayel tzvi v'yachmor. Well, as we're going to see, he would share the yachmar, and that's a type of animal, and barburim avusim. These are types of hens. Barburim is the word from lisanik b'sanukim, right? Barburim, yeah. So these are types of hens. The Gemara is getting into a whole discussion exactly what the barburim avusim were, but for now they're types of hens. The Amar Gurion ben Istayon Mishmei Darav Halalu la'amilon shadach. By the way, these breads, this isn't what they ate. These were the breads that sometimes the Gemara talks about. And a baker would or not a baker, a cook would put breads on top of the pots to soak up some of the scum. Like that's how much bread was just to cover the pots for whatever. But I'm sure there's even more bread for the actual meal. Rabbi Yitzchak Amar Halalu Tzike Kedera. All of this food, this was an appetizer. This was not even the main event of the meal. Amar Rabbi Yitzchak Elef Nashim Hayu Shlomo. He had 1,000 wives. Kol Achas VaAchas Astalo BeBeisakach. This was the meal that each one of the 1,000 wives made for Shlomo. My timer. Each one needed to be prepared. They didn't know his schedule. So each one had to prepare a major meal. The point is, that's the Suda Shlomo B'Shaita. The Ilu Gabi Avram, the Ella Bakar Ratz Avraham, Beikach Ben Bakar Rach, Vitov. He had a Bakar Rach Vitov. Amrav Yudam Rav. Ben Bakar Echad, Rach Shnaim, Vitov Shlosha. Maybe I can come up with a drasha that's not one Bakar, 3 Bakars, but bottom line, I mean, 3 bakars or whatever we just read. I don't know if you did the math. Well, it's a lot, right? So how do you even compare? So the Gemara gives a funny answer. Hasam plus a turid plus a gavri. You're right. Shlomo Melech clearly had more food, but per capita, right? This was 3 bakar for 3 malachim. Hacha lechol Yisrael v'Yehuda. But in Shlomo's day, this was like for a whole lot of people. Shenamar Yehuda b'Yisrael Rabim kechol asher al spas ha-ya. So that's really where the Gemara answers. Fine. But getting back to one of the pratim of Shlomo HaMelech's meal was these barburim avusim, some sorts of hens. And we're going to have a big machlokas right now, Amoraim, what exactly the barburim avusim were. So Amarab, she'ufsinosam bal karchin, you like force feed them. And again, I think this is the thing that people even do now. Like somehow that makes it better. They taste better. I don't know. That's a thing. So I mean, Rob didn't live in Chicago, thank God. He lived, wherever, and this wasn't an issue. Shmuel Amar Avusim va'omdim aleim. They stuffed themselves, but it wasn't people that did it. They did it to themselves. Rabbi Yochanan Amar Mavin Tur Mariso Bidlo Anis. You had a cow that never did any work. Tarnagoles Mash Basa Bidlo Anisa. Same thing with this Tarnagol. That's what this was. It was, what is it, free reign or something? Right, where it's again they never did any work, they did whatever, so that tastes better. Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Mufchar Shebehemos sharp, just as an FYI, Mufchar of the Behemos is the shar, right? Meat is the best, right? I think we all probably a lot of us agree. Mufchar Shebeopos is our Tarnagolos, and the best fowl is a chicken, a hen, whatever. Amar Amemar, Zagsa Uchmasa. So again, this is another what's the definition of this barburim. So it's a black stomached, Babe at Nisa, the Mishnakha, Beni, Atzri, Dlomatia, Pasiakanu. So it's a type of chicken. It has a dark stomach. It hangs out in the vineyards or whatever between the wine presses, and it grows very large. It can't even like jump over a reed, whatever. That's a delicacy. And this is what this barburim avusim were. That's what it was talking about. Okay. And now from really here till where we're going to stop is really the story of Avram Avinu and the Malach. So Ella Bakar Ratz Abraham. Amar Rabbi Amarav is what we said earlier. Ben Bakar was Echad, Rach Shnaim, Vito Shlosha, and that's how we know there were three. The pasuk itself, mashma that maybe one Bakar, but the strasha is that there were really three animals. Ve'emachad. How do you know that it's really three? Maybe it's one. And Kedamar Inshi, Rachich Vitov, and the pasuk is just saying it was an animal that was Rach Vitov. It was tender, it was good. What makes you think there's a drasha here to be had? So the Gemara says, "Imkein lichtov Rach Tov, my Vitov, Shmami no the drasha." Okay, I'm a trade. So maybe you have this drasha, maybe it's only two. Rach Vitov, but that's only two. Tov l'drasha, Rach nam l'drasha. The fact that we make a drasha with Tov, we must also make a drasha with Rach, and therefore it's three. Must is Rab of our Ulos. Rab of our Ulos takes a look at the Psukim, and he says, I have a few things in the Psukim. It doesn't sound like it was three animals. Okay, so must have Rab of our Ulos, Ve'esmer of Oshaya, Ve'esmer of Nasim, of Oshaya. The pasuk says, Vayitain el hanar, Vayimaher la'asos oso. Oso is mashma one. What shouldn't it say otsam? Like Gemara says, no. Kol chad v'chad yavilenar chad. I guess we're Yezer, Ishmael, there's another person. He gave each kid one. Okay. Vayikach hema v'chalav uben habakar asher asa vayitain lifneim. This is Abram now giving it to the Malachim, but it says uben habakar. It should say ubenei habakar. So again, the kama dematya isolak demai. The Gemara says, I mean, maybe as each one was ready, he prepared that one. So there were three in total, but okay. The lama li plusa tiski bechad, probably the best question of all. Like, why do we need three animals? There were three malachim, and a cow has a lot of huda, right? So like, you didn't need three. So we all know the answer. Amar Chana Baraba kedei la'achilan shalosh l'shonos bechad. He wanted to give him a specific delicacy. Tongue, presumably three could have split one tongue, but I guess there's a spot on the tongue. I'm not a tongue person, like personally. So the point is, he specifically needed three animals so that he can give them these three tongues. You should never change from the minhag hamalchim. Shari Moshe alo lamarom lo achol lechem. Moshe went up. He didn't eat and drink because people up there they don't eat and drink. Malachi yasharis yardu lamata va'achlu lechem. So they came down, so they ate. Do you think they really ate? They're malachim. Niru, they at least made it appear as if they ate and drank. Whatever Avram Avinu did on his own, Hashem reciprocated, and he did to his children when he was taking us out of Mitzrayim, ba'atzmo. Whatever Avram did through a shliach, so it says, "Ve'ela bakar ratz Abraham." Abraham himself went to go get the bakar. The ruach nasa me'es Hashem, and Hashem brought us the slop. Vayikachema v'chalav. Avram went to go get the chem of a chalav. Hineni mamtir lechem min hashemayim. And Hashem gave us the man directly. Who omed aleim tachas ha'etz. And for that, Hineni omed lefanecha shama alatur. This is Hashem giving us water by Masu Mariva. So by when Moshe hit the rock, not when he was told to hit the rock. Avram holech imam l'shalacham, and Avram went with them. Vashem holech lefneim yomam. So when Avram escorted the Malachim out, Hashem escorted us through the desert with the Anani Akavah. Then it says Yukach Nama Ad Mayim. So Avram told one of the Nars, bring water. He appointed a shliach to not like in the halachic sense. But the point is, he asked someone to help with the water so they can wash their feet. And Hashem gave the water to the people via Moshe by hitting the rock, which is interesting. This one pasuk, which is the same pasuk, is in both categories. Now, on the one hand, it's Hashem doing it himself, and on the one hand, it's asking Moshe to do it. And I didn't see anyone talk about that. Granted, I can't say I looked too hard, but the article didn't mention anything. But it is interesting how the same pasuk is quoted in both sides of this. But the point is, Upliga Rav Chama Bar Chanina. This past Amora who said this, there's a slight argument with the way Rav Bar Chanina. The Amar Chama Bar Chanina v'chein Tanu Be'er Shmal b'schar shlosha zachu shlosha. But the schar that Abraham Avinu did three things. We had Hashem did three things for us. B'schar chama v'chalav zachu leman. So b'schar that he gave him chama v'chalav, we got the man. B'schar who omed aleim zachu la'amud ha'ana. And from the fact that Avram stayed with them, we got the Amud Ha'anan. Those two, both Amoraim agree. But b'schar yukach nama ad mayim. But with the schar that Avram gave them water to wash their feet, zachu lebe'er shel Miriam. So this Amora says that with his plus is we got the be'er of Miriam. So again, slight machlokas and exactly what the schar was for Avram providing the water to the malachim. So the Gemara says, "Yukach nama amayim v'rachas ragleichem." So Avram said to the malachim, he thought they were Arabs, right? So he said, "Wash your feet," because they may have done avodah zarah. Amar Rabbi Yanai, Rabbi Yishmael, Amru lo. They basically said to him, "Are you nervous that like we are Aravim that do avodah zarah, and therefore we might have the avak on our feet?" They said, like, "What are you so nervous about? Your son is Yishmael. It is the same thing." Also Hashem appears, right? Be'elone mamre, and he's Pesach Oel. Kechom hayom. So again, we all know these are all the Rashis at the beginning of Parshas Vayera. My kechom hayom. Amar Rabbi Chama Bar Chanina. Also hayom yom shlishi shal milah shal Avram. It was the third day after the end of Parshas Lech Lecha when Avram Avinu has the bris milah. This is the third day, which we all know, or we all just know from these Rashis, is the most painful apparently. Uba HaKadosh Baruch Hu lish'ol ba'Avram, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu came to see how Avram was doing. Hoti HaKadosh Baruch Hu chama min artika, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu brought out the heat from his nartik, meaning from the reserves. He brought out a very, very, very warm day. Kedei shelo yatriach oso tzadik ba'orchim, so that this tzadik, so that Avram Avinu shouldn't be bothered with orchim. He was obviously in a lot of pain. Shadre le'Eliezer le'mefak lebra. So Avram sent Eliezer, go outside and go find me someone that I can do achnasas orchim. Nafak velo ashkach, but he wasn't able to find anyone. Amar lo mehenelach, and Avram said, I don't believe it. There's really no one outside. I knew the Amri, and this is the popular saying, Damri Tanman, lest hemanusa ba'avdi, right? Don't trust your avadi. That's kind of the saying that I guess we have nowadays. I haven't used it personally, but it's apparently you don't necessarily trust the help. But that was Avram not trusting Eliezer, because Eliezer said there's no one outside, and Avram was like incredulous. There's no one outside, right? So nafak ihu, so he went outside, and Chazil HaKadosh Baruch Hu, so saw HaKadosh Baruch Hu Dekai Ababa, that he was hanging out outside. I knew Al Masavar me Al Avdech. So the first shot of the pasuk is Avram saying to the Malachim, "Don't leave." But the Gemara is telling us, and I think maybe Rashi, or this is one of those famous midrashim from early on in Vayera, Hashem was visiting, and Moshe and Avram Avinu said to Hashem, "I'm going to go do achnasas orchim. Please don't leave." Kevan the Chazad Ka'asar B'Shari, when Hashem saw that Avram was moving his bandages around, right, taking off his bandages, putting on his bandages. Point is, he was in a lot of pain. Amar lav orech ara lemekam hacha. Hashem said it's not appropriate for me to like really stick around. Let me just be at a distance. And Vayera Vayara Flikrasam, meaning Mikara Asukama. The Malachim came closer. Ki Chazu, the Havali Tzara, when they realized that Avram was in pain, Amrulav Orach Ara Lamekam, they said we should probably move away. We don't want to like be matriachim too much. So therefore they moved away. And but then Avram chased after them, right? Didn't exactly go by to the plan. We'll do a little bit more. So man Shlosha Nashim, who were the Shlosha Malachim? Michal, Gabriel, Virachal. Michal, Sheba Lavaster et Sarah. Michal came to tell Sarah that she was about to have a baby. Raphael, Sheba Rape es Abram. Raphael came to heal Abram. And Gabriel also Lamapche Stone. And Gabriel came to overturn stone. It sounds like there were two malachim that went to go overturn stone, not just Gabriel, Be'erev. So the Azal Michal Ba'adei, it sounds like Michal went with him, or sorry, the Azal Michal Ba'adei, the Shizbe Lilod. Michal did come along to stone, but he didn't come to overturn stone. He came to save Lod. He overturned these cities. Stop here. Everyone.